The big day had finally arrived. It was time for the freshman congressman to assume office, the AJC reporting soon after. Doug Collins has arrived at a tense, fractious moment for the U.S. Congress, a fact apparent from his first official duty, voting for the Speaker of the House. Collins voted for John Boehner, unlike several of his conservative colleagues who openly defied the Speaker. But according to Doug, those who voted against Boehner for Speaker did so because they were tired. According to the AJC, Collins already had a leg up on some of his other freshman congressmen. Quoting Collins, "Meeting lobbyists who have an interest in legislation has prepared me." Collins' unwavering devotion to Speaker Boehner would come to serve as an albatross with his constituents in the 9th District, twice voting for the establishment icon during his 2 terms in Washington. But while the folks back home may have grown increasingly dissatisfied and concerned, Speaker Boehner would reward his protege with regular assignments as acting Speaker of the House. After demonstrating his loyalty for a second time, voting for the unpopular Speaker, Boehner handsomely rewarded Doug, placing him on the elite House Rules Committee, as well as making him vice chair of a House Judiciary Subcommittee, a trusted insider now. Doug became one of the newest members of the Rules Committee, which holds jurisdiction over every piece of legislation coming to a vote by the whole House of Representatives. Because of that committee's central role in the passing of House legislation, only the Speaker's most trusted House members ever make it onto the House Rules Committee. Eventually, halfway through Doug's second term, the pressure against Speaker Boehner for his years of catering to special interests was too much for Doug's Washington mentor to withstand. John Boehner, on whom Doug Collins had counted on to advance in the Congress, would finally resign. To continue his political path upward in an establishment political environment, Doug Collins would have to hitch his wagon to a new political rainmaker, voting without hesitation for new establishment favorite Paul Ryan, once again defying the calls from home to vote against the establishment's choice from Wisconsin. Doug's committee assignments secure all that would remain for Doug to remain in office for his third term would be to convince the good folks back home that while they were going to work and conducting their lives each day, Doug had been diligently working to protect their interests. But Doug would discover that that would be a tall order, given his legislative record folding to the House leadership and special interests. That's because for the last 3 years, and then into his fourth, Doug Collins consistently voted against the interests of his constituents and for those interests championed by Boehner, and now Ryan, and the establishment leadership, and their corporate sponsors. Since taking office, Doug voted with the House leadership over 90% of the time. Doug voted for Boehner for Speaker twice. Doug voted for Paul Ryan. Doug voted to spy on his constituents in defiance of the Fourth Amendment. Doug voted to once again bail out Wall Street banks, this time in advance of them even requesting. Following John Boehner's orders, Doug voted to take his constituents' hard-earned tax dollars to train Islamic radical forces to ally along ISIS to overthrow a Syrian regime that had done nothing to America and posed no threat. During his 2 terms in Congress, Doug voted for the Ryan Murray budget deal, increasing spending dramatically. In 2014, Doug voted for H.R. 59, a continuing resolution to fund the government, thus bypassing any fiscally responsible budgetary process. Doug voted for the Cromnibus, the Omnibus, and voted to fund every Title X Planned Parenthood appropriation, and then came home attempting to sell his constituents that he did not vote to fund abortion.